in it and is glorified in it. And we see, of course, life is empty or dark or confusing or void of beauty. The saints are able to sort of transcend from a human standpoint those experiences. And if we just look at a couple of the sacraments, or even just focus on one, let's say the Eucharist, which is, we consider that to be the pinnacle of the Church's experience. I took communion, so the week goes well, so I feel good, so perhaps, some of the problems that I have will be facilitated by God, and we look at the sacraments as sort of this glorified blessing. But the sacraments are not blessings. The sacraments are direct encounters with divine love, right? The Eucharist and many of the saints, they reflect on, if we see that God's love is manifested in, like in Philippians 2, in the condescension, right? That there's a further condescension, right? Like he condescends to become man, and we say this is a great love, right? But he further condescends to become food, to become bread and wine, to become so vulnerable that we could spit him out of our mouths, that we could stomp on him with our feet. His love, right? And to make it tangible. And so some the saints who speak in very mystical happen between two people who love each other. So if we approach communion, if we as we're preparing to go to church on Sunday, as we are preparing in the communion line to receive Christ in communion, right? Are we meditating on the one who is running to me to greet me with this divine kiss? Or am I thinking about how this communion might be sort of a blessing in my life, in a general way? God is saying, there's a beautiful quote talks about how we should see communion as not just something that pleases us, but ultimately as something that pleases God, that we do it in order to give him pleasure, right? And he says this is not a thought that we would normally have, how my taking communion gives God pleasure, right? We think of it in terms of what is it going to do for me, right? So he says here, in order to respond to his desire to come down into you, to give him the joy of descending into your heart, which is a heaven for him. Perhaps you will say, what? Yes, if you call upon you, bridging all distance between you and him. The day you miss communion is a great disappointment for him. So go to him, respond to his desire. So if we have this vision of communion as this desire, I will meet him with this